And joining me on the line to talk about his new song and other things I'm sure we'll discover as we have this wonderful little conversation, I'm joined by Rusty Gear. G'day, Rusty. How are you today?
I'm all right. How are you?
Doing okay. Thank you for joining us today on Flow. And before we get into hearing your new song, which is called It's Still You, just you're in the US at the moment, so how are things going as far as the COVID situation? It's still sort of everywhere, and we're kind of loosening up here in Australia, but how's it been for you, and how have you coped through the whole pandemic situation?
Well, we've had our waves. We had the wave in the spring, and then in the summer, the case counts came down and people were out and about a little bit more. And then we've had the wave in the fall and after the holidays.
Yep.
Fortunately, case counts, hospitalizations, deaths are coming down pretty dramatically now. And I think part of that is people are getting vaccinated. We've probably got 10% of the country's been vaccinated, and a lot of people have already had it, so they're not getting it again. And people are observing social distance, mask, and so forth. So everybody here in the States really wants to get back to their normal everyday life, but I think most people are doing the right thing, and the cases are coming down. And I'm optimistic that by the time we get into the summer with the vaccines and so forth, that it's not going to be completely normal, but I think people will be able to get out and about, and it'll be a little bit nicer than it is right now.
Well, that's exactly the same sentiment we have here in Australia, so we're on the same page as far as all that's going, and we just want to get to some sort of, normality. We want to go out and see artists like yourself performing. We want to hear it live. We don't want to be forever having it just to be on our phones or our stereo systems. We want to get out and see you and not so much touch you if you don't, you know what I mean. We want to be there in the audience and share, gazes to each other as we used to do.
No, I can tell you, myself and my bandmates is, when you put out a new record, what you really want to do most is go out and play the new songs for people and see if they like them. And it's obviously very hard to do that. We were able to go out and play in November at an outside venue. We played a couple of the new songs, and it went well. So we got a little taste of it. But there's a lot of new music out there, and I think everybody wants to start going out and playing it.
Yes, they are. I've spoken to a few musicians in the last year that have, because they haven't been able to get out, they've been home in their home studios, or they've just been writing and recording, and they're champing at the bit to get out there. Were you doing a lot of that yourself? Were you just did you find that your writing of songs just increased through last year?
It definitely has. There's 7 new songs between What We Believe, which is the EP that It's Still You is on, and Out and Running Round. We had a song called Check In, Check Out Blues that got some radio play in Australia. With Calamity Jane. So those songs, not all of them were written during the pandemic, but a bunch of them were, and I'm sitting on 9 new songs now that have been written in the last several months. So I'm definitely, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to get down to Nashville to record them, honestly. It's still tough to travel now, so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get those recorded and by the summer be able to be out and playing.
And with those new songs, were any of them inspired through experiences during the pandemic, or that was sort of the furthest thing you wanted to do?
That's a great question. I really resisted writing quote unquote pandemic songs. Nobody wants to hear about the pandemic, but there are definitely some themes there. In particular, the song "What We Believe," which is the title song for the record that It's Still You is on, basically has a lyric that says, "Gathering storm and a rising tide, tell us sometimes things happen without warning." That was definitely, that lyric was inspired by the pandemic.
Oh, yes, I can certainly understand that. Rusty, where did your love of country music begin? What started you on the journey?
So I've been a musician all my life. I started playing guitar when I was basically 12 or 13 years old. And growing up, always played in bands, and we were very much into the Southern rock, so the Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker Band, Leonard Skinner. And what's happened in modern country music is there's just a lot of rock elements to it. There's a lot of guitar in it. Some of the best country artists today are tremendous guitar players. Keith Urban, unbelievable guitar player. Brad Paisley. So the fact that there's enough room in the country genre for sort of guitar-driven, bluesy type songs, that's what really got me into country. And then I also very much like vocal harmonies, and that's a big piece of the country genre today. So the combination of those two things just really work well for me.
I noticed that you have recorded with the famed Muscle Shoals rhythm section. So what was that experience like?
It was tremendous. So the first record I made, this is going back several years ago, is called Happy Ending. And my producer of that record, a guy named Tony Sarno, was very close with a very famous keyboard player, Clayton Ivey, who played on just tons and tons of hits. He played on Paul Simon's biggest record with Kodachrome on it and all of that. But going back to Patches, Clarence Carter, and Clayton is still playing. He's an unbelievable musician, a really great guy, and he basically brought in a bunch of guys that played at Muscle Shoals, including Bob Ray on bass for that first record, and for the last one we did down at Blackbird Studios in Nashville earlier last year, we had Ed Green, who's a great drummer, Dave Hood, famous bass player. There's a statue of him at Muscle Shoals, and Clayton, and the three of them were Muscle Shoals rhythm section guys, and that was a bluesy record. Out and Running Round is on that, and Check In, Check Out Blues, and I just did a killer job on it.
Wow. Well, I can hear it in your voice that you're so proud of that experience and those songs as well. So thank you for sharing that.
No, it's a privilege to get to play with guys like that. Not just because of the skill and the talent they have and the passion they still have for the music, but for the history that they represent. I mean, we're walking in their footsteps.
Yep, we certainly are, and we're inspired and we're enjoying their contribution to the world of music so many years later after they all began. It's great to hear. Just before we get to hear your song, It's Still You, and talk about that, one of your other songs I just want to ask you about and sort of the inspiration behind it all and how it came about, the song Tequila Won't Solve Your Problems. I can certainly relate to that.
So I actually started out thinking that I would write a country song that basically would be called We Don't Need Another Song About Tequila. And because of just so many of them, and I did a little research, and there were, at the time I was working on that song, 51 songs, modern country songs about drinking tequila. And so I had this idea in my head, and then I'm walking, down the street of a town in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, Hyannis. Got a ton of bars on it, and there's a sandwich board there to try to get you to come into the bar, and it had, written in chalk, tequila won't solve your problems, but it's probably worth a shot. And I just thought that was very funny. Yep. And I went and did a little research to make sure there was no songs about it already, and put that together, and very, very happy with the way that came out. Great arrangement of it by Brad Hill, who's my producer down in Nashville, and that's totally a fun song, and that's a great one to play live.
Oh, I can understand that. I can, yes, I certainly can, and it's right, but it's tequila, and we'll just leave it there. I'm sure we've got some foggy memories where just need to not remember. Now, Rusty, your new song, It's Still You, A Tale of Long Lost Love. Is this a tale that's very close to you, or one that you experienced, or one that's been inspired by other things?
I think it's a pretty universal experience for people to think back on an old girlfriend or an old boyfriend and wonder what they're doing, wonder if they're thinking about you every once in a while, and that was sort of the inspiration. The actual, factual inspiration for the song came from my childhood, and I bumped into an old girlfriend at a party, and it was great to see her again. And we weren't friends, we weren't hanging out, but it was just nice to see her. And it was still her and it was still me, and we'd been going out for a long time before that. So that's sort of the story around the song.
It reminded me of past situations. I could certainly relate to it listening to the song, and basically it got me from the first opening lines. Last night I heard a love song that made me think of you. I wondered how you're getting on, and it just took me back to the person I was thinking of, and the song that I always associate with them. And it was a Bryan Adams song, but I can never. Every time I hear that Bryan Adams song, it just takes me to that person. So I totally get where you were coming from with this track.
Now, there's definitely songs that remind you of people and places, and I'll tell you a funny thing that I think about every now and then. I haven't spoken to this girl in decades. Honestly, I have no idea where she is or what she's doing, and I wonder if she heard the song, would she potentially recognize my voice and know it was about her? Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? And I'm kind of curious to know, to be quite honest. But yeah, I know what you mean. And then I also love the line in the song where you're saying there's worse things in this world than being an old flame.
I think that's true.
It's a great line.
I just think that's true. Thank you.
It is certainly a great line. And the bit about getting dropped on the phone, that took me back too. So thanks for that memory as well.
Sorry about that.
But that's the beauty of a song, and that it can do that, and it can trigger different things and all that. Is that when you hear tales like that of someone like myself hearing your song, and then I'm getting, flashbacks to certain situations in my life? How does that sort of feel to you as the songwriter and the artist behind it?
To tell you the truth, it's what it's all about. I've been amazed that, and honestly, grateful that somebody would listen to a song that I wrote and listen to the lyrics and try to figure out what they mean. And the truth is, everybody hears a song differently because they hear it from their own perspective and their own life experience. And that's been one of the best things about it, that one person says, this song means this to me. And another person will say the same song means something just a little bit different. And when I write it, I don't have any insight as to those little nuances of how people would listen to it. But it's I think one of the magical things about literature and songs is that everybody experiences them a little bit differently.
Absolutely. Well, Rusty, just before we get to hear the song, what's coming up with you for the rest of 2021? What are you hoping to see happen? Have you got more music coming, album, EP? What's on the cards for you?
So I'm hoping to be able to record another EP of sort of country Americana music. Very happy with how What We Believe has done so far, and it actually just got released to Americana radio here in the United States, and I'm really hopeful that it'll get some traction there. And if it does, I'd really like to follow up with another album that has sort of country Americana tones to it. And I've got a bunch of songs in the can to do it, and I hope I can get to record them. And but most importantly, I'd just like to see an ability for us to go out and play, not just because it's important for us to go out and play live, but because it'll mean that things are opening up and restaurants and people are, being able to make their livelihoods again. And I think that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. We certainly hope that happens for you and all the other artists and musicians, not only just in this country, but in your country as well. Well, Rusty, thank you so much for spending time with us today on Flow. It's been a pleasure chatting to you again. I look forward to maybe another chat with some more music that you're putting out later through the year. Thank you so much for your time today. We've got your song here ready to go. If you could please introduce it for all the Flow listeners.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure. And everybody, it's Rusty Gear, and my song is It's Still You, and I hope you like it.
Last night I heard a love song that made me think of you. I wonder how you're getting on and if you think about me too. I know it's for the best, we went our separate ways. Still it's only human nature to smile on yesterday. If by chance we met again, it might feel strange. Would it ease your mind to know things haven't changed? It's still you, and it's still me. Couple of years gone by since playing in the band. The girl out front with perfect pitch and the guitar playing man. We sang those good old songs in two-part harmony, and you and me just happened naturally. I remember when you called me on the phone and very gently dropped me like a stone. It's still you, and it's still me. And baby, we both know it's not the way it used to be. We'll never have forever, and maybe that's alright. But that don't mean that I won't dream about holding you tonight. There's no room for judgment, no need to make amends. We're no longer lovers and don't have to be friends. It might be nice to see you, I hope you feel the same. There's worse things in this world than being an old flame. The last time that I saw you, I was taken by surprise at a party full of strangers on a Fort Worth Friday night. We shared a dance or two and talked a little while. I told a funny story just to see you smile. Now I need to think of something fast if I want a night of living in the past. It's still you, and it's still me. And baby, we both know it's not the way it used to be. We'll never have forever, and maybe that's alright. But that don't mean that I won't dream about holding you tonight. 'Cause it's still you, and it's still me. Yeah, it's still you, and it's still me. We'll never have forever, and baby, that's alright. But that don't mean that I won't dream about holding you tonight. Just tonight.